Hello you fans, Rants here, and welcome to an updated deck profile with Necroface Troll. As it's now called Really Necroface Troll, this is now viable due to the release of Fairy Tale Shirayuki, which is a light target and can summon itself by banishing cards, which sets off the effects of Shiranui's and Necroface itself. So it gives it enough reason to actually run this in the deck. And I'm also running Cupidity due to currently a ruling on DevPro allowing Omega to return banished cards that are face down to the graveyard face up, which gives me enough reason to play it. So it legitimately gets my Mizukis out of the deck faster, or even my one-offs like Daunting Pose, or as it's now called Rise to Full Height, and control my opponent's plays essentially, with Necroface cutting down the deck, my trap cards and Chief Priest blowing away the board, and Omega taking cards out of the hand, or even Zeta taking out your summoned monsters in that special summon in attack position, forcing your opponent to special summon in defense position in order to summon stuff that removes it, like Castell and the like. So this deck is more or less based for fun, but it can have some strength against some meta decks. Its worst matchup would obviously be Monarchs, but it can work around Cosmo essentially. It did actually be a Cosmo deck, but that's mainly because it didn't have Sky Cavalry Centura that was on the stream yesterday. So if you want to see that, I think it's in the second one because I had problems with the power. It went out during halfway in between that, so that's why the stream is going too. But it did actually beat it. Sky Cavalry was something you should play in the extra deck, but that person didn't, obviously, and that means he can outdeals. So yeah, that's that. Without further ado though, let's go into the deck profile. So our brilliant engine is based with Gemini Garnet and Fairy Tale Shirayuki. Garnet is just anything, to be honest. You could run any Gemini over this, but Garnet has the most synergy because it's level 4 and it's a lot stronger stack. And then we got Fairy Tale Shirayuki, which can special summon itself from the graveyard by banish a total of 7 cards from your hand, field, or graveyard, which sets up all Shiranui effects because they gain them on banishment, and it can also be special summoned during either player's turn, so it can be used as a pseudo Book of Moon if you're really in that bad position. Plus she's level 4, so it gives you options for Synchro and Exceed. Then one Shiranui Samurai, which can banish zombies from my graveyard, which means it can banish Necroface during either player's turn and set off its effects. Then we have 2 Shiranui Spirit Masters to keep the trap card alive. When it's banished, it destroys a face-up card your opponent controls. It has the primary effect of special summoning Shiranui from the graveyard when it's normal summon, but I generally don't use that effect. Then we have triple Shiranui Sage, one of the best cards of this deck. Shiranui Sage is an instant PSY-Framelord Omega on your turn 1, because it's basically Low Fire Blossom. It tributes a zombie or itself to summon out a zombie tuner from your graveyard with with 0 defense, which will be Unizombie. Unizombie then sends Mizuki to the graveyard. Mizuki revives Sage, instant profile PSY-Framelord Omega, which is very good. But it also has a secondary effect. When it's banished, you can target one Shiranui in your banishment zone to special summon it. If you have Shiranui Reincarnation formation on the board, or I should say Synthesis, then you can summon 2. Sage can be also comboed with Spectral Sword to summon out Crystal Wings Synchro Dragon in 1 turn, which is very nice indeed. And speaking of Spectral Sword, it's currently a 1 of the deck. Don't really need a second one. You can easily put it back into the graveyard with other Shiranui cards, or Barefoot Dimension, or Omega, so it's not really needed as more than one of in something that's not orientated fully around Shiranui. Spectral Sword can banish a zombie and itself from the graveyard to special summon a zombie synchro monster from your extra deck, regardless of its summoning conditions, which is actually Zombie Skull, because that can only be summoned with the zombie. This gets around it, summons it on the board, but if you banish Sage with this, you get to summon out the tuner again, which you can synchro for Crystal Wing Zero Dragon, obviously, which is pretty good. Then onto the actual zombie part of this deck. We have 2 Zombie Master, which can revive zombies by discarding a monster from my hand, and easily abusable. You can use this effect more or less twice or 3 times in 1 turn, but you don't get real benefit from this twice. Then we have 1 Shooting Doji. I had to cut this down actually. Shooting Doji is very nice. It banishes zombies from the graveyard to draw 1 card, two zombies I should say, which sets off Necroface's effect and Shimmy effects, and you can target a banished zombie type monster and place it on top of your deck so you don't more or less deck out. It can recruit those losses like Zombie Master and stuff like that. Well, it has to be face-up cards because it actually states a type, whereas Omega does not. Then we have triple Mizuki. Mizuki is staple in this deck. You banish it to resurrect a zombie from the graveyard. Not much more you can say about this card. Then two Necroface. Necroface gets a major plus with pocket ability because it shuffles them more back and gains 100 for each card is sent back to the deck, which can be pretty good. I think the highest I've got Necroface is 4,200, which is very nice indeed. But it's mainly for the secondary effect. When it's banished, both players move the top 5 cards of our deck, which combined with Soul Absorption gives you 5,000 life points, which is lovely. This combined with Soul Absorption as well gives you 5,000 life points. Then we have triple Goblin Zombie. Goblin Zombie searches out any zombie in this deck except for Necroface, unfortunately. But that's a mandatory effect, so if you don't have any in your deck, you have to reveal your deck, unfortunately. And if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, it sends top card of the deck to the graveyard, which can be annoying for decks that really don't want to put one in the graveyard, like Pendulums. But you generally don't use that effect. It's mainly used for a synchro and then get a search, which is quite good. Then 3 Unizombie, which is our tuner. It can send Mizukis or any other zombie from the deck to the graveyard to level itself up, or any monster on the board by 1. And you can also discard to do the exact same thing, which can be brilliant. It's one of the best zombie card support cards in the game at the moment. Then we got the spells. We got 1 Regeki to out Monarchs, because Monarchs is still a thing. Why haven't you done something about Konami? Then we have 2 Alluridanis. This was a suggestion after the stream to play this card. It's more or less just testing it out at the moment. I took one of the Book of Lights out and added another card to make it a 47 card deck, just to include this, but it's extra draw supports and can set off Necroface effect, which can be really trollsy, so I had to put it in. But the ability to have 47 cards in the deck is only because we have Pocket Cupidity. Pocket Cupidity allows you to gain consistency in decks that have over 40 cards, up to 50 cards, without hurting them too badly, mainly with the hypothesis that you generally don't use 10 to 20 cards in your deck in that duel, so managing 10 of them doesn't really matter. And with decks that have multiple key cards that are at max, it shouldn't hit them all, which is very good indeed. You can place in a 40 card deck and increase consistency there, but you're more than likely going to banish more of your key cards. Plus it means you're less likely to draw Garnet, whereas I usually do draw Garnet, because that's a thing. But Pocket Cupidity, very good card. When it comes out, it's going to be one of those hype cards. So pick it up if you can see it cheaply, because it's really, really good. So Pocket Cupidity definitely a free off in this deck. Then our Beryllium Fusion Engine, which isn't necessary to go off with. It just gives you an extra little plus, gets you a monster that can banish cards. It can do a lot of things for the deck. Then we have Foolish Burial to put anything that you need in the graveyard at that time. It can be very good for combo pieces and stuff like that. Then we have 2 Chivalry Style Synthesis, the Field Spell, which can revive 0 defense point zombie types from your graveyard if you draw no monsters by discarding a card, or it can add one of your banished zombies at 0 defense to the graveyard, so we can recruit your Spectral Soul back to the graveyard, which can be nice. You don't really need this at the moment. This is probably why I've put Book of Life down to 1, just because we already have a load of recovery options. Burial from Different Dimension, currently at 1, so we can only play 1. So that's quite good. Plus you can combo this with PSY-Framelord and me. Well, it's quite bad actually, but it has to be. If they didn't, it would be annoying for a lot of people. But this card can easily combo with Omega to stop them gaining back the cards that you banish. If you have 3 Omegas on the board, which you can do in this deck, and I have done it on stream, you can essentially just take 3 cards out of their hand and put them at a real disadvantage, which can be always fun. Fun indeed, particularly if they're all monsters. You can only put monsters back to the graveyard, unfortunately. Then 1 Book of Life. You don't really need this in the deck anymore. Well, not in this version, I should say, because you have so many recovery options. You have Mizukis, you have Sage to go off into PSY-Framelord Omega, which can put back Mizukis. You have Synthesis, you have Soul Charge There's a lot of ways you can get off, and Book of Life is not really needed anymore. Plus, you can't do it on your turn 1, which means seeing on turn 1 is really bad. Then we have 1 Sword Charge to revive our fallen combo pieces. Then we have 2 Twin Twister for the Monarch matchup, and can set off our Shivering Weezing Graveyard, particularly Spectral Sword, always good to pitch that. Then triple Soul Absorption. This card is really trollsy in this deck because if you banish through Polypidity or Necroface, you're gaining 5,000 life points. That means you can increase the deficit that they have to get over by quite a lot. I think the highest was in a tag duel on stream yesterday, and we were up to 38,000 life points or something around that point before they got rid of Soul Absorption, which is more or less unkillable at that point unless you got a load of resources, and that by that time you probably would have limited resources. It was very fun to use this card. And then triple Shivering style Swallow Sword, which can trigger a zombie, target 2 on the field, pop them, then banish Spirit Master, and banish destroy another card, which means zombies have their own fire lake, which is always good. And then 1 Daunting Purse, or is now known as Rise to Full Height, because this is a very powerful card. It can target and face a monster, it doubles defense until the end of the turn, and then its defense goes to 0, which you generally don't use. You have to get off the board though somehow. But its secondary effect when combo with PSY-Framelord Omega means your opponent can't battle you for the rest of the turn, because what you usually do is in the draw phase, chain this in the graveyard to PSY-Framelord Omega, making the only attack target for the rest of the turn. In standby phase, put this back in the graveyard. During their main phase 1, tag out Omega, they can't attack for the rest of the turn because there's no appropriate target, which can be really annoying unless they can out Omega in for standby or draw or end phase, which is annoying, but it's very good. It's not an instant win, this thankfully, because Omega can be killed through other means, but it can be very annoying for your opponent to have to deal with. Then onto the extra deck, we have 1 Castel because we do need 1 XT monster. Castel is very good. Then 1 Shivering Samurai Saga, it targets summon out with Spectral Sword. It's alright, I generally don't use its effects though. 1 Archfiend Zombie Skull, which can protect zombie type monsters from being destroyed by card effects. Generally I don't use it. Again, it's mainly just a base for my Crystal Wing summon. Then 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, hardly ever summon it, but in principle it's quite a good card, particularly against a field spell deck that doesn't float. Then we have 1 Black Rose Dragon because it's a nuke, 1 Moonlight because it's a bounce back, it's very good, 1 Zeta because this is a troll deck and it's banishes, so might as well play this card. It can be very good, it can stop things like 101, they have to put it into a defensive to get out your cards. Like Castel, they have to put in defense to get rid of it. Then we have 3 PSY-Framelord Omegas, because you can make 3 PSY-Framelord Omegas in a duel, and if you do, it's going to be hard for your opponent to deal with that unless they do a massive board removal in one of the phases where it's vulnerable, or it's a bit like Drowning River or something like that. Omega returns your banished zombies to the graveyard. It can take cards out of your opponent's hand, combined with Burial from Different Dimension, means they don't get those cards anymore, and it can put itself back into the extra deck by returning a card from your graveyard to your deck, which can return one-offs like Soul Charge. I have returned a Soul Charge, only for me to draw it next turn, and that can be very deadly. Then we've got 1 Scrap Dragon because it's Scrap Dragon instant monster removal, plus you out target through Brilliant Fusion, which will generally be gone. Plus, in this you can summon the Spectral Sword with the Brilliant Fusion and sync for something like Ancient Fairy Dragon or Zeta with the Seraph Knight you summon. Then we have 1 Scarlight, it's also a Board Nuke and it's technically a Cowboy. 1 Crystal Wing Silver Dragon because it's very powerful and it's a monster negation plus honest. Who wouldn't want that? And then 1 Beals because you combo Scrap Dragon and Beals to get instant free pops, which is great. Plus this is annoying for Cosmo. Then 1 Seraph Knight as an additional normal summon. You can add another Book of Life to this if you really feel it is more necessary, but I don't think it's necessary at the moment. And I'm not adding Solar Strikes just because this is a fun deck. It doesn't require summons for that. Matter, you want it to have fun, you don't want to just win through a summon. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. It's a lovely deck to play, very fun, and it combines my uses my favourite type in the game, which is a zombie. Always been a fan of this and always will be. So yeah, this is the updated form. Have fun with it. It's very fun to use. I can't stress that enough. And yeah, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see further content. Please leave your suggestions down below if you want a suggestion for my deck or suggestion for my channel in general. If you want to see a deck, please leave them down below in the comments, and I will try my best to get onto those. I can't always do every request, but I try to do as many as I can. And if you want to see when I'm streaming, please like the Facebook page, which is in the description below. That'll have all the information. And if you want to do the polls at the top of this video, that would be most appreciated. Thank you for watching. Matarans signing out.